Seated. Welcome. Okay. I believe where we left off, Mr. Osser was examining Ms. McDowell. Is McDowell here?
She's on her way, but I do have that. She's on her way. She's having a hard time finding parking, apparently all the lots.
So she's not actually in the building
She's not
yet?
actually here yet.
Okay.
But I did have an issue I wanted to raise, Your Honor.
Okay.
Which is, first of all, the defense disclosed some additional exhibits to us today, just about half an hour or less, 2716 through 2723. And these relate to social media postings that Ms. McDowell made in response to people who were basically debating on social media, I guess I will say, the merits of the case and her responses to those. I guess I have two concerns about what the defense did yesterday. I tried to go into whether or not whether Ms. McDowell had done any interviews with the media, and the defense objected that it wasn't relevant, and the court sustained it, which was really law of the case. Then defense counsel got up and started asking about her media interviews. Then I also tried to go into, with Ms. McDowell, the fact about the case. And again, the defense objected that it wasn't relevant, told the court it wasn't relevant. And then that's what it appears that counsel intends to go into with Ms. McDowell today based on the postings. So I guess, I'm concerned that obviously these are issues that I anticipated that they were going to raise, which is why I wanted to go into it on direct, which I think I'm permitted to do. They represented that it wasn't relevant, when clearly it was. They just wanted the opportunity to go into it before the state did. And I just don't think that that's being very candid with the court about the fact that they think these issues are relevant. I'd also like the court to look at the new exhibits. I'm not sure what counsel intends to do with them. I think that at best they are impeachment of Ms. McDowell, but they do contain other statements by other people on social media about the case, their opinions about the case. At least in Exhibit 2719, there's a reference to Floyd. So I just want to make sure we're all clear that the defense isn't going to try to put that evidence and the actual postings in front of the jury. Certainly if they want to ask whether she made certain statements, and if she denies it, they can show the postings to her, but I don't believe that they're admissible and should be shown to the jury.
This is 2716 through 2723, did you say?
Correct, Your Honor.
Excuse me, Your Honor, we don't have any head check here. We have some,
They're right there, on the side.
there's no headphones with us.
Oh, okay.
No, we're too, the family.
Well, I could,
All the headphones.
you guys give me an opportunity to look at the exhibits, if you got a hard copy.
Understood.
Is this it? Oh, here we are.
2724 is not.
She didn't say anything about 2724.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that number. 2724 through 2724, correct.
I don't have a copy, so I was looking at the court's copy.
Thanks for letting us know. All right, are we ready to talk about this? I agree with you, at least in part, Ms. Eeks, that yesterday as these objections were being made, which strictly speaking weren't really the prosecutor's case in chief, but were impeachment type things, I was a little surprised. But I figured we'd be where we are, that we were getting there one way or the other.
And Judge, just so the record's clear, I never objected. Mr. Hertzer, I think, objected.
That's true.
The court never asked for my opinion or, I believe, Frank Keene's opinion. And so I think this is absolutely relevant. It's inconsistent with what she testified in being offered for impeachment purposes only. So I don't intend to admit them as substantive evidence, but certainly confront her with what she testified yesterday and the change in her version yesterday, which is also consistent with these exhibits. So I don't intend to admit those, but ask her about them, and if she doesn't remember, I'll show them to her, and she can either verify she said that or not.
Understood with respect to that. I guess then perhaps I'll have to just make sure I understand who all's objecting to what, because I think that, as the court knows, that was why I was anticipating that they would go into these things, and clearly, I just think we should be candid with the court with respect to what we intend to go into, so that I can address it, as I think I'm entitled to do, if I have a good faith basis for believing they're going to raise it.
Well, Judge, I take exception to the candid to the court. I've never said anything that's not candid to the court, and so I take exception to that.
Anyway, so your intention is not to go into the comments that were made to her, but only to what she said?
Correct, Judge. There's a couple reasons it's relevant. If the court looks...
Is there going to be some issue that the context needs to be
No, I intend to
provided?
ask...
I mean, there's other defendants here. Maybe they're going to say, well, you need to completely understand what she's saying. We need to have what she's responding to, right? I'm just wondering if that's where this is going. If we are, let's, in all candor to the court, let me know now. So I'm looking at you two guys.
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Judge, the first thing is that relevance is it may or may not be relevant at the time that the question is asked. Ms. Eakes asked Ms. McDowell, did you talk with the press?
No, you're misunderstanding me. I'm asking you now, we're past that.
Okay,
What I'm asking you now is you guys know what these exhibits say.
correct.
Are you going to say, when you have a chance to talk with Ms. McDowell again, are you guys going to say, well, you said this, but weren't you responding to this so that we understand the entire context of what you're responding to?
Judge, to me, I don't know if I would recross her on that in particular. What I do know is that her statement has changed from what she said in the text messages, the Facebook messages, what she said in the interview, which was consistent with that, and then what she said yesterday, which was absolutely inconsistent with that. And so, you know,
We were talking about the body slam versus the punching and the sequence of
the
events.
sequence of events, I mean, that's what's absolutely inconsistent. So those were not becoming, in my opinion, they weren't an issue until yesterday afternoon, when she says, no, it was the driver that grabbed Mr. Ellis first. They are relevant now, and I don't know that
Sure.
there's necessity to put them more into context, because she said back in,
Well, I'm talking about the context of these
I
statements.
understand that, but they're back in June, is when those statements were made, June of 2020.
I'm not sure I got an answer.
The answer, Judge, I don't know, and I don't anticipate doing that. I just honestly don't know.
Mr.
That's what
Conrad?
she says.
Okay, Mr. Conrad?
No, Judge, I don't. I don't intend on going into it at all. I think I really, believe it or not, intend on just keeping my questions to two questions, which is there's only one patrol car there and two officers, and my client's never there. So that's my line of question. Our client's not there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
And Your Honor, from our perspective, I mean, obviously, if the defense goes into some of them, we're going to have to ask generally, which is what I attempted to do yesterday with respect to why she posted those things, in order for the jury to understand the context of them. That there was back and forth with individuals that she, on Facebook, who were disputing
her version of her,
Well,
what she said.
certainly if this gets brought up, you can ask her about it. Sure.
Just want to make sure.
I mean, at that point in time, it's now part of the case. But strictly speaking, it isn't relevant to the case in chief. It has to do with bias or whatever of the witness, at least potentially, or inconsistencies. Anyway, is she arrived yet? Do we know?
I believe she has.
Did you let me know for sure?
She is here. I spoke with her when the court was looking at the exhibits.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, let's have the jury. Oh, sure. Yeah, welcome back. Please have a seat right there.
I just turned it on. Thank you. And Sean, we have those videos ready.
20 up right now.
I think I'll start with 546 first. Actually, I don't know. I'll tell you which one.
So just that level of speaking is like perfectly
Back
clear
there? Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Please be seated.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll resume the cross-examination of Ms. McDowell by Mr. Osser. Mr. Osser, when you're ready.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. McDowell.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I want to start when you were describing first seeing Mr. Ellis. I think you said he was in the sidewalk area. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, and when you first observed Mr. Ellis, you didn't see him carrying a bag, did you?
No.
You would have seen that from that perspective?
I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't see anything.
Okay, didn't see a bag though?
No.
All right. Did you see a large bottle of water
No.
in his hand?
No.
Did you see a box of donuts in his hand?
No.
And what you described yesterday, at least on cross-examination by Mr. Pertzer, you certainly didn't see Mr. Ellis strike the front passenger window of the patrol vehicle. Is that right?
Right, I didn't.
I think you actually demonstrated for us yesterday, using the blue line on the floor here, that he was a couple of feet away from the car.
Right.
And even if he tried to hit the window, was not close enough to the vehicle to actually make contact. Is that fair?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. And if I understand, you indicated that he was in that location, sorry, the location I just demonstrated, for about 10 or 15 seconds. Is that accurate?
About, so I'm not 100% sure, but
Approximately.
it was quick, yeah.
And I think what you testified to is that he was facing the vehicle for that approximation of time, and then he actually turned around. Is that right?
Right.
Did he turn to his right or his left?
I can't remember what side he turned.
Okay. But you demonstrated yesterday that he was actually had his back to the vehicle when the door struck him. Is that right?
Right, from what I remember, yeah, that he was turned around all the way.
All right. And what you told us at our interview on January 11th of this year was that he actually took a couple steps away from the vehicle with his back before he was struck with the door.
I believe so. I can't remember.
How far away was he from the car then if he took a couple steps?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember him taking steps anymore. I just remember him turning around and getting knocked down. So I don't know if he took steps or if he didn't.
Okay, well, I'm going to, with the court's permission, then show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 860. May I approach, Judge?
Proceed.
This is the transcript that we used yesterday of the defense interview on January 11th of this year. Is that right?
Right.
And if you could turn to page 18 of that. I'm sorry, page 19. I misled you on accident.
That's okay.
You were asked at line 5, question, so he turned around. Do you see that?
Right.
And your answer at line 6 was he had turned around to walk away. That's what you said back in January, right?
Right.
Question on line 7, and had he taken any steps to walk away from the car? That was the question that was posed by Mr. Pertzer at the time? Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I got to answer.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And your answer was on line 8, right? Hum.
Yeah.
That was very bad, wasn't it? It was UM-HMM. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes.
All right. And then Mr. Pertzer asked you how many steps he took away, meaning Mr. Ellis, right?
Right.
And your response on line 10 and 11 was like a step or two, like he was literally turned around and he was starting to walk away, and then you get interrupted by Mr. Pertzer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you did tell us, at least back in January, that he took a couple steps away from the vehicle.
Right.
That misstates the
But-
testimony. She said a step,
It-
maybe
that's-
a couple.
A step or two, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, we're all clear. It's a step or two is what she said.
Sure. All right. And so now you're saying you don't remember if he did that?
Right. I mean, it could have been 1 step, 2 steps. It was enough, or however far away he walked, he still was able to get knocked by the door. I don't
All right.
recall right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So from what you've described to the jury so far, he was never in a position to get any sort of powdered sugar from the donuts that he had purchased earlier onto the patrol vehicle. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I never seen him do that or put his hands up to the car or anything.
Okay. You certainly would have seen that if you'd done that, right?
From what I was seeing, I'm sure.
All right.
Sorry, what, the last part of the answer?
From what I've seen, I'm sure.
All right, so I'm going to show you, with the court's permission, these have not been admitted, so please don't show them to the jury, okay?
Don't show them.
Don't show them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show, and I'll show Ms. Eakes as well, defense exhibits 2667, 2670, 2671, and 2675, okay? I approach again, Judge.
Proceed.
Thank you. Do you see the numbers on the tags here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll refer to those numbers, okay? Take a look at those 4 exhibits and tell me if you've ever seen those before.
No.
Okay. Do you see a white, oh, let me ask you this. Do you see a box of donuts in those photographs?
Yes.
She said she's never seen the photographs before, and the photos speak for themselves. I don't think there's any basis to question her about it.
I'm gonna allow this. We'll see where it goes.
Thank you, Judge. There's a box of donuts directly below the passenger front window of the patrol vehicle, right?
I don't. It just shows on the ground. Oh, yes, yes.
Is that pictured in every one of these exhibits or any one in particular, just so with the record's
see.
clear? Which one we're
I'll
looking at?
clarify, Judge, which exhibit number.
Please.
Yeah, so you're looking at 2667, correct? And directly above the location of the box of donuts appears to be a white powdery substance on the passenger's front window, correct?
I'm going to object.
That's not,
It's not depicted in 2667.
It actually is, Judge.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Well, let's let the witness answer. Does she see it?
I mean, in my opinion, that just looks like thrown at. Doesn't look like
Sorry, I
fingerprints.
can't hear what you're saying.
I said, in my opinion, that doesn't look like fingerprints. It looks like it got thrown or something.
Okay, but you see a substance on the window there, right?
Yeah.
Your testimony is you didn't see anything from Mr. Ellis that would account for that, right? Got to answer out loud.
No.
Okay. And in exhibit number,
Sorry, this is too-
20, we'll stick with 2667. Do you see a very large water bottle in the bike lane on the passenger side of the patrol vehicle?
It looks like maybe it could be a water bottle. I don't know what it.
You
what
didn't
it is.
see that in Mr. Ellis's hand, did you?
Oh, I see it. No, I didn't.
Okay. You don't know how that got there?
No.
All right. May I retrieve those exhibits, Judge?
What was the last one you just showed?
2667, Judge.
Well, those are both 2667? I
Yes.
mean, it's all that was about 2667? Okay, sorry.
Well, I'll clarify, Judge. In 2671, you can see both the items we've been talking about, right? The box of donuts and the large water bottle. Do you see that in this
Yes.
exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't see those items in Mr. Ellis's possession at all? Okay. Yesterday, on direct examination, you'd indicated that the light turned green, the police officer's vehicle did not move for about 10 or 15 seconds. Do you remember saying that?
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah. Once the light turned green, I think you said you were sitting there for about 10 or 15 seconds wondering why the police vehicle didn't go through the green light.
I can't remember 100%.
That's
but
fine.
Possibly.
But it turned green and then
And
didn't go
then-
forward, right?
Right.
Okay. And yesterday you said that at that point Mr. Ellis walked over to the vehicle. There was some exchange that we just discussed, and he was knocked to the ground by the passenger door, right?
Yes.
And that immediately after that, the driver of the vehicle flipped on, I think you said the yellow lights.
Yes.
Yesterday. And then got out, right?
Yes.
That's not what you told us on January 11th during the defense interview, is it?
Right. We talked about this.
What you told us on January 11th was that the driver flipped the yellow lights on while Mr. Ellis was standing on the sidewalk, right?
No.
You didn't say that.
No.
All right, turn to page 16, please, of Exhibit 860 that you have in front of you. On line 6, actually, I'm going to go up to line 3 first. Are you with me?
Yes.
The question by Mr. Pertzer was, and then you saw the car was there, the light was red, it turned green and didn't move. That was the question. I guess it wasn't really a question, it was a statement, right?
Yeah.
And your response was, H-U-H-UH, right?
Right.
And then Mr. Pertzer asked you, so what was the next thing that you saw? That was the question, right?
Yes.
And your response on lines 7 through 14 was that, then I seen like a guy walking. Still didn't think anything of it, period. And then the police officer's lights turned yellow. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, but I didn't state like specifically when that happened. I know when it happened, and it happened when the officer jumped out to go around the car.
Okay. And then on lines 9, you continued that wasn't the entirety of your response, was it? You said, what I remember, they turned yellow. Then the guy, he had walked up to the car like quite a ways away, period, right?
Right.
So you clarified that the driver turned the lights yellow and then Mr. Ellis walked up to the vehicle, right?
Yeah, that's not what I meant though.
Okay. And that's not what you testified to yesterday, is it?
I don't know.
Well, you testified yesterday that the yellow lights turned on after Mr. Ellis had already been struck, right?
Right.
And that's
Or
different.
after he'd been struck by the door, yes.
And that's different than what you said in January,
Yes.
right? Yesterday you told us that you started recording on your cell phone within a second or two of when he was struck by the door. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
All right. So just so I'm clear, light's red, you're directly behind the vehicle, right?
Yes.
Light turns green. Yes.
Yes.
And the police don't move for some time. You said 10 to 15 seconds. Not sure if that's accurate, though, today, right? Mr. Ellis walks up to the vehicle, right?
Yes.
Is struck by the door of the passenger.
Yes.
Driver gets out and tackles him or flips him.
Yes.
And then the passenger starts punching him in the face.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
And so you said that you started taking that video within a second of...
As soon as I seen the passenger officer knock him down, I started recording, or I
Right.
got my phone to record.
All right, perfect. Have you seen the Vivint video of the interaction as you're sitting directly behind the officer's patrol vehicle?
Have I seen, I don't
Doorbell
know.
video.
Yeah.
Okay, you've seen it, right?
Yes.
All right. And if I could have Exhibit 546 published, please. When did you see the video from the door camera?
Whenever it was released to media, I don't remember.
Okay, so is that the only time you've seen it?
No, I've seen it a few other times after that.
Okay, when was the last
Quite a
time
few
you...
times.
Oh, sorry.
The last time, I don't recall. It's been a while.
Okay. I'm sorry. Start. Can you put it back to the very beginning and pause it, please? All right. This has already been admitted, and we've already seen this, okay? What I want you to watch, I think you have a screen up there.
Yes.
Okay. About 3 seconds into this video, that door camera video is going to pop up onto the timeline, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I want you to listen to what we can hear. Have you listened to the sound?
Yes, I don't really remember though.
That's okay. I want you to listen to the sound. And we saw your video from the phone yesterday. You start screaming almost immediately when you hit record, right?
Yes.
You say, stop hitting him, right?
Yes, it was after I think he's like hitting him and then, yeah.
Okay. So I want you to listen to what we can hear before we hear you say that, okay? And then I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
All right. Can you go ahead and play?
Can you expand the screen on this, because it's a little corner?
I'm sorry. Stop, please. Sorry, Judge, what?
Are they able to expand the screen to the whole?
No, that was apparently only Mr. Frederick's computer that could do that. Okay.
All right.
Can you put it back to 3 seconds, please? All right. So at 3 seconds, Ms. McDowell, we see that come on to the timeline. Do you see that camera angle that we were talking about from the house? Do you see it on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's your car right in the center of that, the Cadillac, right?
Yes.
And that's Keon's white car
Yes.
behind your vehicle, right? And you can see the amber lights of the patrol vehicle already illuminated, right?
Right.
Those are the yellow lights you were talking about that were flipped on at some point by the driver.
Right.
Is that all accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to have Ms. Smith hit play, and I want her to stop at about 20 seconds, and I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? I want you to listen to what's happening in the video relative to when you start screaming. Go ahead. Pause it, please. All right. So you agreed about 17 seconds into that video is when we first hear you screaming, right? That's your voice.
Yes.
And so what's happening for the 17 seconds before you hit record?
Why?
That's not accurate in terms of when she started to record from the same timeline. She started to record before that.
Before I started screaming.
I don't know. There was an agreement that her recording started at the same time.
Well, I think that's what Mr. Osser said. But
She agreed with
Agreed
it.
with me.
I think she should clarify.
Well, counsel, I can't edit what the testimony is. You can try to clear it up during your examination. And maybe the witness will disagree when we get into this, but at least that's where we are so far.
Thank you, Judge. You heard your voice on there at 17 seconds into the video, right?
Yes.
And that's approximately, I guess, when you started recording, right?
I started recording before.
Okay. And so you can hear in the background Mr. Ellis struggling with the officers as soon as that video starts at 3 seconds, right?
Yes, I can hear.
All right. So what's happening for those 12 to 15 seconds then?
I'm not sure. I don't know. When I pulled out my camera and started screaming, he was getting punched.
Okay. Well, you just told us the interaction was almost 2 seconds from when he was hit by the door, you started recording, right?
2 seconds?
1 or 2 seconds after Mr. Ellis was struck by the door, you hit record, right?
I don't believe I said 1 to 2 seconds. I said as soon as I seen him get struck by the door, I went to grab my phone, so, putting on the camera to press record.
Okay.
However long that was. I don't know how long.
But you can
But
clearly
as soon as I seen him get struck, I grabbed my phone to record.
But you can clearly hear struggling occurring as soon as that video starts and all the way up until you start screaming, right?
Yeah, I can hear him.
And on the video, you say 2 times, just arrest him, right?
Right.
If Mr. Ellis wasn't doing anything, why would the police just arrest him?
Because they were doing something. They were punching him for no reason. So I wanted them to, whatever the case was, whatever maybe had occurred, I wanted them to arrest him instead of beating him up.
Okay. And you said yesterday that Mr. Ellis did not resist at all at that point, right?
Nope.
He was laying on his back being punched multiple times now by the driver of the vehicle, right?
No, he was being punched by the passenger.
Okay. As he laid on his back, right?
Yes.
And as the officer was straddled over him, right?
Yes, he was over him in some way. I don't know if he was on top of him or put pressure on him. I don't know.
Okay. Do you see the screen in front of you?
Yes.
All right. Have you ever seen this video that appears right in the middle before?
Yes.
When did you see that video?
When it was released.
And you understand then that was taken from a vehicle that's on Ainsworth facing 96 at that intersection, right?
Yes.
All right. And why don't we watch that video and then I'm going to ask you some questions about it, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Smith, can you hit play and then stop at about 50 seconds in?
Center 317, go ahead.
Hey, you're on the road right now!
You got kids in the car, you dumbass, you already know.
Center
317.
87. Not 6 names.
Alright, traffic, Henry 317 on trouble 968, we're 2622.
Try again. Go around the...
Mr. Ellis was never laying on his back being punched in the face in that video, was he?
No, so like I said, when I started screaming, I was already recording before that. When my video starts, he's getting punched in the face and body slammed. And then when you hear me screaming, you can see in this video then what occurs.
Right, and you will,
Like that, thrown.
you will agree that Mr. Ellis appears to be resisting here, right?
I don't agree.
You,
What?
I'm sorry, objection. I think a lack of foundation or a lack of expertise for this witness.
I don't even know where that question comes from, I have to say. She's being asked to comment on what she's just seen. Objection is overruled.
you can see Mr. Ellis attempting to stand up in the video, right?
I don't remember. I'd have to watch it again.
You see Mr. Ellis with an officer on his back attempting to stand up, correct?
Yes.
And you hear in the video Mr. Ellis say, "Try it again," right?
No, I didn't hear.
You didn't hear that? You rewind it to about 45 seconds and hit play.
Try again. Go around the...
Hit pause, please. You hear Mr. Ellis say, "Try again," as he's attempting to be restrained by the officers, right?
Are you playing again? Sorry, I
Sure.
mean it.
She wants us to play. Go ahead and go back to 44 seconds and hit play, please.
Try again. Go around the...
Hit pause, please.
It sounds like it.
That's Mr. Ellis, right?
I never heard him, so from the video it sounds.
And as he's saying, "Try again," he's struggling with the officers, right?
He looks like he's struggling, but I mean, he just got beat up and like how all the videos, you can hear him saying he can't breathe, so he was probably struggling to breathe, in my opinion.
Did you hear him say, "I can't breathe" in any of these videos?
No, not these ones.
Okay. I guess from the date of March 3rd, 2020 up until January 11th of 23, you gave 4 separate statements, is that right?
Possibly, I don't recall.
Okay, well, you gave a statement to James Bible, the attorney for the Ellis family, on June 4th of 2020, right?
Yes, yes.
You gave a statement to the Washington State Patrol Detective Rue on October 5th of 2020, right?
Yes.
So about 6 months after your first statement with Mr. Bible?
Sounds right. I don't remember the dates, but I do remember that.
That's fair. Okay.
Is it June to October?
June 4th of 2020. Washington State Patrol, October 5th of 2020.
That's more like 4 months, not 6, right?
Oh, sorry. I went from the 4 instead of the 6, Judge. Sorry. June 6/4 of 2020 till October of 2020, right, was the second one? Approximate. You don't remember the dates. Okay. And then you met with an investigator for the Attorney General's office, Investigator Heitzman, on March 31st of 2021. Do you remember that?
I don't really remember, but I'm sure.
Okay. Do you remember meeting with Not so much?
I can't remember.
Fair enough. And then you met with us on January 11th of 2020.
I remember.
Right? Okay. And yesterday I asked you why your sequence of events with respect to Mr. Ellis being punched was different than you told us in January, right? Do you remember me asking you those?
Yes.
And you said that you'd watched the videos
Yes.
and that you reviewed all of your statements that the Attorney General's office gave you after our interview. Is that right?
Right.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Not that I recall.
And so
It was all of my stuff that I had.
And so you told us that you reviewed those things and you had got it wrong when you met with us, right?
Yes.
Okay. Except that's exactly what you told us on January 11th is exactly what you told Mr. Bible on June 4th of 2020, isn't it?
I don't believe so.
Have you seen, you said you saw transcripts that the Attorney General's office gave you. Did you see transcripts of that interview?
James Bible? Yes.
All right. I'm going to, with the court's permission, I'm going to show you Exhibit 859.
Okay.
And actually, I'll just leave that one up there too, okay? Do you recognize 859?
Yes.
What's 859, Ms. McDowell?
This is mine and James Bible's. I don't know if it was our first interview. I don't know what this.
You agree that's the interview you gave to Mr. Bible, right?
Yes.
And that's a transcript of, you said it was video recorded. That's a transcript of what the
Yep.
discussion was between you and he.
Yes.
Turn to page 4, please. Line 15, Mr. Bible asks you, and the hitting with the door is the first thing you saw. That's his question, right? Do you see that?
Yes.
And your response was, yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Bible on line 18 says, what did you see after that, doesn't he?
Yes.
And your response was, I seen the, okay, so the passenger knocked him down. Manny, started to get up, and then the guy that knocked him down just started, hitting him, or, just, grabbed him, period. And then the other, I believe it was the other, I was looking at my phone, I believe it was the other police officer grabbed him and flipped him, right?
Yes.
That's what you told us on January 11th during the defense interview that you said was mistaken, right?
Right.
I'm going to ask that the witness be, that counsel ask to continue on in her answer onto the next page.
Well, let her finish this one, then you can go there.
It's all part of the same answer, Your Honor, that's fine.
Was there another question? Did he only provide part of the answer?
Well,
Provide the whole answer.
okay. Her answer goes on for 3 pages, Judge. I'll read it, I guess. Where I stopped, there was a period, right?
Yes.
And then you say, or you can see it in the video, period. He, flipped him down, period. You want me just to keep reading? This is 2 pages.
It's a complete answer, Your Honor, I would ask that you continue.
Let me see.
I agree. Okay.
And the next page, Deb.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Say
I can do that, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Oster, continue.
You have it back in front of you, Ms. McDowell? Sorry, I'm on page 5, top of page 5 now.
Okay. Yes.
All right. I'll start at the beginning of page 5 again because I stopped, okay? You said in the video, period. He, like, flipped him down, period. And, like, then I think it's the skinnier cop, I'm not sure. They just were all, like, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I mixed up who it was. So the skinnier cop just started punching him in the face, just punching him, right?
Right.
Missed a word. I'm sorry, but missed a word with respect to reading the answer there.
Which word did I miss?
I'll tell you what, because this has gotten so chopped up, why don't you start from the very beginning and read it through
To that point, Judge?
to that point?
All right, thank you. Back on page 4, Ms. McDowell, are you with me?
Yeah.
Mr. Bible on line 18 says, what did you see after that? Do you see that question?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to read your response. If I miss a word, please interject before I finish, okay?
Okay.
Line 19, I seen the, okay. So the passenger knocked him down, period. Manny, like, started to get up, and then the guy that knocked him down just started, like, hitting him, or, like, just, like, grabbed him, period. And then the other, I believe it was the other, I was looking at my phone, but I believe it was the other police officer grabbed him and flipped him, period. That was all accurate, right?
Yeah.
Or you can see it in the video, period. He, like, flipped him down, period. And, like, then I think it's the skinnier cop, period. I'm not sure, period. They just were all, like, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I mixed up who it was, period. So the skinnier looking cop just started punching him in the face, just punching him, period. Right?
Right.
That's what you said.
Right.
And that's what you told us on January 11th in 2023 in the defense interview, right?
Your Honor, I asked again that it be read through lines 9 at least.
You're going to have to do that on your own.
Can I ask another question, Judge?
You didn't get an answer to the last one.
Oh, that's what you told us on January 11th of 2023 in the defense interview, right?
Yeah, what I had said in this at the beginning, you're right, but it's like I resaid the whole thing, and let James know that it was the driver one that got out. I don't know. My words were everywhere, so.
So you agree that what I just read is consistent with what you told the defense attorneys on January 11th of 2023?
In a way, but not completely. If you read the whole thing, it's not. No.
Okay. You told Detective Rue the same thing you told Mr. Bible, and you told the defense attorneys during your interview with him, didn't you?
I'm not sure.
Well, let's check. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 857. Can we put that one back together? I'll take it. Do you recognize 857?
Yes.
What's 857?
With Jeff. The Washington State Patrol interview.
It's a transcript of your interview with Detective Rue, right?
Yes.
That's dated October 5th of 2020, right?
Yeah.
On the first page. And that's a transcript of the statement that you made 4 months after Mr. Bible, not 6, right?
Right.
Turn to page 2, please.
Okay.
On lines 20, I'm going to go down to line 27, okay? There's a big paragraph there of a big answer that you gave in response to a question on line 13 from the detective. The question was, and then what drew your attention to the incident? Do you see that?
Yep.
And you give a lengthy, at least the rest of the page is an answer to that, right?
Right.
I want to go down to line 27 in the answer. I guess I'll read the whole thing, otherwise we'll have an objection. Start on line 14, okay?
Okay.
In response to that, you say, okay, so I was driving to my sister's house March 3rd, late at night, and my kid's dad was behind me following me to my sister's house because he was coming to spend the night, period. We were going to spend the night there, and I pulled up behind a police officer at a red light on 96 and Ainsworth, and I didn't know anything like it was normal until I seen Manny walking, period. And the police officers, well, at first I thought it was just like a normal conversation. They were just, I don't know. I just thought that like the officers knew him from somewhere, maybe you know, period. And Manny like walked to the car a little bit. They like got his attention or something. And then he turned around, ignored, it looked like he ignored them or like was walking away from them, and then got back onto the sidewalk or was going to the sidewalk. It looked like the passenger police officer opened his door like super hard, and it just like threw me off, period. That's what, when I was like, okay, something's happening. Also, the light turned green and they didn't go, so it was kind of just like obviously something's not right, period. But when the passenger police officer opened the door, Manny got knocked down. The driver officer opened his door and ran around in front of the police officer's car, their car. While the driver police officer was getting out and running around the car, the passenger police officer was punching or slammed Manny to the ground and was like punching him. Like over and over, just punching his face, period. I then was like, or then got out of my car and was screaming, like whatever he did, like whatever occurred, that I didn't see, just arrest him, period. That's what you said, right?
Right.
So you said you didn't see what had occurred before the passenger knocked him down with the door and punched him repeatedly in the face, right?
Sorry, say that one more time.
This statement that I just read is consistent with what you told Mr. Bible about the passenger officer getting on top and punching him in the face first, right?
Right.
It's consistent with what you told the defense on January 11th of 2023, right?
Yeah.
And it's different than what you told the jury happened yesterday.
Right. But I think it was just, or definitely was just either being nervous or just confused, just nervousness, because I said that and being confused with the officers, who was who, because I say that the passenger body slammed Manny, which that's not true.
Well, you understand that if what you said there in those 3 interviews was accurate, Mr. Ellis would have been unable to stand to his feet in order to get body slammed by the driver, right?
Sorry, say that again?
If what you said every time until you testified yesterday was accurate, that the passenger was on top of him, punching him in the face repeatedly, Mr. Ellis could not have gotten up from that position to be body slammed by the driver as you testified previously, right?
So I'm confused. I mean, probably it's making sense. I don't know. So he had gotten knocked with the door. The driver jumped out. So Manny must have gotten up. I don't recall. I don't remember. For the driver to slam him on the ground, and then the passenger started to punch him in the face.
Well, I know that's what you said yesterday.
Right. So that's my story today. I don't recall. Everything else, it's clear that it was said.
You agree then what you're saying now occurred couldn't have happened if it happened the way that you said the first 3 times that you told people about this, right?
Right.
Because he wouldn't have been able to get up if the officer in the passenger seat is on top of him, punching him in the face repeatedly.
Right. Yep.
For the
Absolutely.
driver then to body slam him, right?
Right.
Yesterday on direct examination, you'd indicated that you weren't sure whether Mr. Ellis had anything in his hands before this encounter, right?
Right.
That's not what you told anybody in your 3 statements before yesterday, is it?
That he had stuff in his hand?
No, yesterday you said you weren't sure if he had anything in his hand, right?
Yeah, I don't
Because you
know.
weren't paying attention.
Right.
But you were specifically asked those things in both the interview with Detective Rue and the interview with Investigator Heitzman. Do you remember that?
Do I remember them asking me that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they did. I don't recall.
Well, do you still have 857 in front of you?
Yes.
Turn to page 4, please. On line 26 on page 4, you were specifically asked by Detective Rue, did you see anything in Mr. Ellis's hands, right?
Right.
And your response was no.
Okay. I never said I seen anything in his hands.
Right, so he asked you, was there anything in his hands? And you said no, right?
Right.
Well, yesterday you told us you weren't sure if there was things in his hands. Which was it? Were you not sure, or did he have nothing in his hands?
No, I don't know.
No, the answer.
Same with this, from saying no, I don't know. I don't recall. I don't know.
Well, you told him that you saw nothing in his hands, right?
I said no.
And Investigator Heitzman asked you the same thing in your interview with him on March 3rd of 2021, didn't he?
I'm assuming so.
All right. I'm going to show you 858. Have you seen that before?
Yes.
858 is the summary of your interview with Investigator Heitzman from the Attorney General's office, isn't it?
Yes.
I think Mr. Pertzer had to look at this yesterday. Do you remember looking at it?
Yesterday? I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. I want you to turn to page 2 of 3 and the 3rd paragraph. Investigator Heitzman indicates, when asked, you report at the time she did not see Manny carrying anything, right?
Okay. Yep.
All right. I'll retrieve those from you. I think we're probably done with those for a little bit. Thank you. So on June 4th of 2020, you met with Mr. Bible, Mr. Ellis's sister, and I think a couple other folks, right?
Right.
And on June 4th, when you met with them, you had the same phone with you, that you had on the night that we've seen the video that you recorded, right?
Yes.
And the phone was operable, wasn't it?
It was what?
Operable. It was working,
Yes.
right? In fact, on the video that Mr. Bible took, you actually take the phone out. Do you remember seeing it?
Yes.
And you enter a passcode. Do you remember doing that?
Yes. I don't remember entering a passcode, but I'm sure I had a passcode to do so, yeah.
Because it was password protected. Your phone was, you had to enter passcode to open it up, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess.
And then you played the video while they were recording you, right?
Right.
Okay. And on the video, we can see that your phone, the front screen of your phone has some cracks on it, right?
Yes.
Not such that it would prevent you from operating it or working the phone, right?
No, I was able to use my phone.
All right. And I think you said yesterday, almost immediately after that meeting with Mr. Bible, your phone broke, right?
Right.
How'd your phone break?
I have no idea.
Well, your phone was cracked a little bit on the front screen
Right.
when you showed it to him, right?
Yes.
When your phone was finally turned over to whoever you gave it to, not only was it cracked on the front, it was cracked on the back, right?
Right.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. I don't remember. It was
You don't
3
remember?
years ago.
You don't remember how your phone broke?
Nope.
But you remember it breaking on either the day that you showed it to Mr. Bible or the next day, right?
Yes. I have messages stating that my phone broke.
Okay. And obviously you knew your passcode to get into the phone, right?
Yes.
And so you didn't enter 10 incorrect passcodes in a row into that phone, did you?
No.
Because that would make that phone inoperable, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure. Lock it. I don't know if you can't ever get back in. I don't know.
So if you didn't do that, who did?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, you know that phone, when it was produced to us, there were 10 incorrect passcodes in a
I
row
didn't-
placed in. Let me finish the question first.
Okay. Sorry.
You know that there were 10 incorrect passcodes put in sequentially so that it was inoperable. Did you know that?
No.
But you didn't do that, right?
No.
Do you know who did that?
My child, maybe? I don't know.
Well, when did your child do it if it was operable and working on the 4th and it was broken either that day or the next day?
Sorry, so you're asking, I don't understand. So you're saying that when my phone broke, that's when the password was entered a bunch of times incorrectly?
I'm saying we have no idea because we can't get into your
Well,
phone,
I don't
right?
either. I have no idea.
Well, you just told us that the phone was operable on June 4th when you showed it to Mr. Bible, right?
Right.
And that it became broken and inoperable either that day or the next day, right?
Yes.
So did your daughter put 10 incorrect passcodes on the same day that the phone broke?
Possibly, I don't know. I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time. I don't know. I would have said, I would have told you guys if I knew.
With respect to that same phone, you signed a consent to search the phone at the request of the Attorney General's office, right?
Right.
But you only gave consent to search it on one day.
No, I gave consent to do whenever.
The issue of how long the consent was for.
Well, of course it is.
Well, it may be. I guess I'll tell you what, we'll excuse the jury and have a conversation about this. Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse us. Please do not discuss the case. Okay. You want the witness excused? Okay. So don't go too far away because this is not going to take too awful long, I don't think, Ms. McDowell, but we do need to have you step outside the courtroom.
Okay.
What you got? Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Usser,
Yes, Judge.
Ms. Eek says this is irrelevant. Is that right?
I think it's absolutely relevant. So I've just elicited that this phone somehow gets disabled unknowingly by Ms. McDowell. We're trying to figure out what's on the phone. The state requests a consent to search the phone because they don't have a warrant, and she consents to a single day, that of March 3rd, not allowing us to search what's happening on June 4th, after June 4th, anytime other than March 3rd. That seems to be very relevant if there's in fact things on the phone that she doesn't want us to have access to, and she's disabled the phone.
Your Honor, first of all, the videos have already come in, and the defense didn't have any objection to it. There's no evidence that the videos have been changed. The consent was done at the Attorney General's request in terms of the days. Nobody ever said, hey, we want to also have June 4th or look for some other date on it. We were looking specifically to try to see if there's videos. She obviously has a right to privacy to the contents of her phone. And so asking this witness about why the Attorney General asked only for that day, which of course was the day that was an issue as far as we were concerned, is the reason why. And that's, you know, I just think it's not relevant to ask this witness about it. It's misleading to the jury. And frankly, there's no evidence to tie it up to anything being nefarious about it. I mean, they know from Mr. Fredericks and all of the other analysis that's been done that the video was on the phone and that there's never been any sort of editing or changing to the video.
Well, I'm not sure why Ms. Eeks is limited as to the video. Is there communication on the phone she doesn't want us to see? Is she talking to other people on the phone with things that she doesn't want us to have after meeting with Mr. Bible, meeting with the family? That's certainly relevant. This is not just about the video. I'm not sure why the state keeps saying this is about only the video.
Well, and counsel knows that the phone was never able to be accessed because it had been damaged. So there's only a break key report for it. However, they subpoenaed a whole bunch of other people and have communications that she had with Mr. Bible, with Monet Mixon, with other people that they sent search subpoenas on with respect to what might be relevant here. But whether or not she had communications just generally with other people, there's no evidence to suggest that she in any way damaged the phone intentionally in order to prevent anybody from looking at any of those things.
Well, as to the premise here, the question was having to do with what consent Ms. McDowell gave to the Attorney General's office. You have introduced this idea that the Attorney General's office specifically requested only one day. I haven't heard that from anybody but the Attorney General's office. So I don't know if that was the Attorney General's office request or whether or you requested, can we search your phone? And she said, well, yes, but only for the day in question. I don't know which one of those things occurred, and they're different.
Well, and I think that, I mean, I'm representing to the court that the Attorney General was the one who asked her for a specific consent for that specific day. Certainly, if counsel wants to ask her, did you say that they couldn't search it for any other day, that's fine, but to suggest that somehow she decided the scope of the consent is not true.
You have something to add to this, Mr. Conrad? You started.
I don't think, yeah, I would like to, Judge. I don't think that makes it any less relevant, right? The fact that the prosecutor is only searching the phone for one particular day is exactly what is causing us concern in this case, is that they don't want to see what else. I mean, it's a phone in a criminal matter that usually is taken into evidence or a warrant is done. I mean, warrants were done for many other phones in this case, including our clients, but in this specific circumstance, it's Patty Eek's office and the Attorney General's office working with this witness to get a consent to search for one particular date, and that's it. Limit it only to that because they either don't want to see what else is on there, or they just have this tunnel vision of an investigation in order to try and get our clients convicted for something they didn't do.
There's just no evidence to suggest that
Well, let me ask you this. Why did you only ask for the one day?
because she has a right to privacy with respect to the contents of her phone.
Well, she may well have said, I don't want to do that, if you had said, can we search your phone? But what you're telling me is that you asked her, can we search your phone for just that day?
Correct, because we were searching in response to the defense raising issues about the validity of the validity of the video, and we asked for consent to search her phone to look for the videos for that day. The phone is damaged and was not able to be fully accessed. So even if we had a longer consent, nobody would be able to look at it to determine anything else, because all you can get from it was a gray key extraction, because they're not able to get into the phone because of the damage to the phone. That's what the evidence would be.
So, in fact, though, the search by the forensic examiners was not limited just to the one day in the end, right?
Correct. They have the entire extraction, and we know the State Patrol gave the entire extraction to the defense. So they have everything that could be taken off of that phone.
But was the extraction limited to just the events of that day?
No, because they cannot do that. The way that the extraction is done is it has to be the entire content. And here it was only a gray key extraction, so they have the entire content of what we have. It's not limited to it.
So how are you going to just search for the one day if you had if the whole extraction was going to be obtained?
Because what typically happens in these cases is that if you get the extraction, and then there is a filtering to get the extraction that is permitted within the consent of that one day. In this case, because they weren't able to access the phone, it's called a VFU extraction. It was basically a forced extraction of what they could get from the gray key. And if there had been able to get into the full phone, then there would have been access. The search parameters would have permitted just that one day. But that didn't happen. So they have everything that we have, which is the entire ability to get into the phone.
Well, I suppose the other issue is information with respect to other kinds of emails that had nothing to do with the video as such, but maybe gave her information about how to disable the iPhone.
Well, there's no evidence that she intentionally disabled the iPhone. The phone was broken.
Yeah, but see, that's what's mysterious about this. I mean, at least what I've learned this morning is that the front of the phone had a broken glass, but was still operating as of June. That by the time it got turned over to the police, which was just a couple weeks later.
Or it was sometime later, Judge. It was disabled that day or the next day, and we didn't get it till, I don't know when we got it.
Right, but my point was is that whenever it got over to the state control, which I thought was later that month, but maybe it wasn't. Now the back was damaged.
Well, we don't know that the back wasn't damaged on the first day. On the first day, what
But
you see on the video.
that's what she said. She said when it was played, when Mr. Bible had it, only the front side was damaged, not the back side. And yet when it was turned over to investigators, the back side was also damaged.
Correct.
And there seems to be some agreement, I don't know if this, Mr. Ossert is telling me this, there seems to be some agreement that the phone was disabled within 48 hours or something of the interview with Mr. Bible.
There is a text message in which Ms. McDowell says on the following day, June 5th, she showed him the phone on June, that her phone was broken, and so she was getting a new one. And that's when she got a new phone. And then that phone, the old phone, was kept for some period of time, and then the state asked to have it. And that's what was eventually turned over, extracted. And at the time that she signed the consent, just so the court is clear, we didn't know whether or not you can get into the phone. So she signs the consent for one day, because that's the day, and we assume we're going to be able to
Well,
get into
no,
the phone.
I understand that, and I would have assumed that you didn't necessarily know that, but it does seem unusual for me, for an investigative team to voluntarily limit in advance what they're going to search for.
Well, that's,
If they said, can we search my experience is, we ask, can we search your phone? There's some reluctance to do it, and it says, now we'll only search it for that day. Well, okay, now maybe. But I've never seen it the other way around, where the investigator in advance says, when they're asking for the consent, we just want to search for the one day.
well, that's typically the way it's done, is my understanding, and it's exactly what was done with respect to Mr. Ellis's phone, via a search warrant, for the same reason. So, again, because we're dealing with a privacy issue of, everybody's phone basically contains their life. And should the defense be able to go through all of her photos and her videos and all of her other communications that are unrelated to the case?
Well, usually, maybe this case is different, I'll grant you, but usually the person who's turning over their phone isn't worried about the defense going through it, they're worried about the state going through it. Because usually that's how this sort of works, But I realize this case is somewhat different. And so usually may not apply, but anyway. Well, Ms. Eakes, is it fair to say there's enough curiosity about all this that it's just not unreasonable for this defense to go into the issue and let the jury figure it out?
Your Honor, I just don't, I don't think that there's a basis for them to be able to try to tie it up in any way, to do anything other than try to cast suspicion and to create, misleading information with respect to what the scope of who made the request.
Well, circumstantial evidence can be misleading, that's true. But it also can be valuable.
And if there was some reason to believe that there was something nefarious with the videos, I mean, you've got this completely, again, I don't think there's any evidence necessarily that it was intentionally disabled in any way, but, I've made my argument, Your Honor, I just think that it's not, it's misleading to me.
Well, there's some parts of me that think that you're right about all that. On the other hand, there's all this issue surrounding Miss McDowell, and including the social media materials from her, which suggests she has a very strong opinion about this case, and it isn't neutral in any way. And that may of itself give her some incentive to limit this, because it is apparently agreed that the reason why this phone is disabled is because of the inputting of the passcode, a wrong passcode, multiple times in a row. No one's telling me there's any other reason, like it fell and now it's not, just won't work.
That's not agreed to.
Is that agreed? Because that's the only excuse I've ever heard from anybody.
Well, that's not agreed to, Your Honor. What has been said, is my understanding, is that the phones can become disabled because they get severely damaged, or they can become disabled because somebody tries to put a passcode in.
We don't know which.
And also that with respect to the broken screen on it, our expert, Mr. Baer, says that sometimes what happens is someone puts a code in, they're putting the correct code, but because the screen is broken, the numbers are registering wrong. So you can be putting in your passcode, but your screen is broken. Instead of reading it 8861, for example, it might read it 9931. And so you're putting it in because you believe it's the right one, and in fact it's not. So I don't agree necessarily with the statements that have been made with respect to whether that happened or whether it simply got badly damaged, which caused it to get locked out.
Mr. Fricke wants to say something?
In that regard, Your Honor, if you recall, we went for months and months and months, over a year, trying to get access to that phone. And we had motions to the court, you ordered it, they delayed. We finally got the phone, they said it's broken, won't work. We talked to our expert, he says, well, you can get the cover fixed, and then we can get to it. We got the cover fixed, remember, we wanted to do it, they know that once we had that to the court, they said, no, we want to do it, which they did. They got it to our expert, we get it to Celebrite. Celebrite says disabled because someone put a password in there 10 times incorrectly, which prevents, and Celebrite's the best in the world, prevents them from opening it. And so if they want to make hay about, they don't agree with that's the reason for this being disabled, they go to Celebrite. But anyway, we go to the weight anyway, and not to the admissibility of what Mr. Foss is trying to do here.
And
So Celebrite's conclusion was this was caused by the passcode.
Correct.
Ms. Eakes, what about that?
I don't believe that that's what they concluded. Again, we sent it to Celebrite. There was also water damage. It's one of the ways that the phone can become disabled. It can become disabled because of damage, and it can become disabled because of the entry of the passcode. And as I just indicated, the passcode can be correct but appeared to be entered the wrong way because of the damage to the screen.
Do we have any reason to think that that's what actually happened?
No, she just
We
told
don't-
us she was able to do it on the 4th with this cracked screen.
I mean, I realized earlier she was able to do it with the crack screen. But presumably the crack could have gotten worse, I mean.
Yes, exactly.
But do we have any reason to think from Cellbrite or any other source that it was that kind of problem which caused the issue?
They can't say exactly what caused the disabling of the phone.
Right.
Again, it can be a variety of things, including that you're putting in a passcode with a cracked screen that's misregistering.
I was just wondering if maybe somebody tried to enter things with the cracked screen and found that the numbers they were entering was not actually the numbers that
They
were
can't
being
tell
registered.
Because they were never able to get into it sufficiently to be able to do anything other than to force this, this break.
Okay, I think Mr. Oster's going to have an aneurysm. I'm going to let him say something.
Well, Judge, I can't believe what I'm hearing, because as Mr. Fricky said, we argued this in front of Your Honor multiple times. Mr. Liu stood up in court, on the record, 10 incorrect passwords were put in, disabling the phone. That's what they told you. And now they're saying that's not the case, with no information that it's otherwise?
I don't believe that that's correct, Your Honor. I'd also just note that Ms.
Well, I do remember, I think, Mr. Liu saying something very close to that to me.
May have indicated that that's one of the ways that it gets disabled. And again, Ms. McDowell fully cooperated with Mr. Bear and with
No,
the
but
state in terms
the
of trying to get into the phone,
Well-
even after the fact.
Well, I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is that the improper entry of the code, which if it was entered mistakenly, then it seems like Ms. McDowell might have remembered that she tried multiple times, couldn't get it open. For some reason, it wasn't working anymore. And that maybe she did it, but she says, I don't even know that that's what happened. She contested Mr. Oster's statement about the passcodes in the sense that I don't know anything about passcodes being a problem. In so many words, that's what she said. If it did happen, perhaps my child did it. But I don't know, and that certainly wasn't me. And the reason why that matters is because the entry of the improper passcodes suggests an intentionality in disabling the phone. And we're speculating about the reasons why. Maybe there is no reason why, which is what you're suggesting. There's no reason for her to disable the phone. She was cooperative with us and so on. Maybe there was something else on there involving some other kind of activity she didn't want anybody to know about, which has nothing whatsoever to do with this case. That's entirely possible. As you say, everybody's lives are on their phones and it's a privacy issue, and I certainly think there's nothing phony about that. I mean, it's probably real. But then there's also the idea that she is a very staunch advocate for a particular position here. And this comes up suspiciously in terms of the time frame, shortly after it becomes sort of known to the world. So it's hard for me to say that it's got no value at all in terms of potential impeachment. You may have reasonable explanations for it, and the jury may believe that. I don't know. I don't know how far we want to get into all this about what the defense got and all that sort of stuff, but I'm imagining we're going to get something from the are we going to get anything from the guys that did the cell extraction? Detective Bear, I think, was on your witness list, for instance. So we're going to go into all this extraction business and stuff anyway, aren't we?
Well, to some extent, I guess. I mean, again, I guess to some extent, it's my understanding that they weren't necessarily challenging the validity of the video at this point, or the contents of the phone, because the additional work that was done established that the thumbnails of Ms. McDowell's break key extraction match what was sent to Monet Mixon. So I guess, where we
Well-
are is that really they're talking about that they have no basis for. She destroyed the phone because maybe she was doing something on the phone, maybe talking to somebody that she didn't want anybody to have, as opposed to not being about the video. I just think that's extremely tangential.
Is there any argument here based on what Mr. Osler was talking about this morning about the one video showing certain things happening, and it's like, and he's, by Mr. Osler's count, 17 seconds or so before her video starts?
Well, no, I mean.
I mean, because one of the things that seems to me that's critical here is, how did this get started? Right? That's been rife through this whole deal. And there's a suggestion that her video picked up Mr. Ellis being punched. Right?
And it does.
Right. Well, I suppose there's some issue about whether he's being punched or not. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, you'll see it when we play the video again, but it's in Exhibit 20.
Okay. But if it started before that, if she had a third clip, because she stopped it at one point and started it again, which we know. If she had a clip before all those other clips, that may have shown something that she didn't think made her case.
Again, no evidence of that, Your Honor. I understand that may be some speculation the defense wants, but there's no evidence of that.
Well, all I'm suggesting is the possibility exists based upon the timing of the videos and the timing of when she said she started.
Well, again, I think that there's confusion being created in part because the defense wouldn't allow us to put on Grant Fredericks in this particular video, claiming that there was somehow some invalidity to it, which
Well,
we agreed to. But
as I indicated, you could have solved that problem by
understood.
so I don't know who you're going to blame for that.
Well, Exhibit 465, as a result, what is being used by counsel doesn't show when Ms. McDowell's video starts. And that's why I think that, say it's 17 seconds, doesn't at the same time show that her video is actually already running. So that's my concern about the way that is being displayed. So we'll straighten that out with Grant Fredericks. And if the court thinks that this is relevant, again, I think it's an issue that the jury shouldn't go in front of the jury. I don't think that there's a basis for that.
Well,
for
that's-
these claims, and that there's speculation. But I understand if the court's going to say that you're going to let him go there. I just want to make sure that I'm very clear about what the state's position is.
Okay. You want to say something else?
I'd like to add one piece to this, Judge.
Go ahead.
Briefly. So another thing that I don't think has been discussed, why we are concerned about this phone and the video, is because we've seen communications from both the detectives from Washington State Patrol indicating that they've been told by Grant Fredericks that he believes there's additional footage or seconds from Miss McDowell's video. And then we see that the same comments from James Bible to Miss McDowell saying, hey, I'd like to work with you to get the phone, that the Attorney General's office thinks that there's additional footage, additional seconds from your phone. So obviously when we see communications like that piques our curiosity as to what additional footage, and we've never been told where that information came from. No one's admitted to why they believe that there's additional footage, and then when we try and get to the phone, obviously it's been disabled. And my understanding of how it's disabled is that when you enter the password too many times, it will then say you're locked out of your phone for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, it'll give you an opportunity to do the password again. And if you do it incorrectly again, it'll then give you either another warning of either 10 minutes, or it'll tell you if you keep doing this, you are going to disable your phone and it'll be inoperable. And so that's what ends up happening in this case. And obviously, if you tie it all together, that's why we're concerned.
And I'll just address that, Your Honor, and I believe we have addressed it before. At the point that we tried to get the phone from Ms. McDowell, one of the issues that was raised by Grant Fredericks is that sometimes when you transmit a video, there can be nanoseconds that are not picked up as part of the transition, the part of transferring it. So when you text it to somebody, as she did in this case, there could be on the phone just microseconds that would be right before the video because it kind of comes in and clips it, and sends it. And that's why we were trying to get the phone, and that was the message, but there could be a microsecond there. So we look at the original video on the original phone, there might be a couple of, like I said, microseconds that are on there. That's the messages that they're referring to that, essentially, part of the problem of hearsay, I guess I would say, being translated out into there's several seconds as if there's another video. And that's not what it was. It was Mr. Grant Frederick saying, hey, if we got the actual phone, maybe I'll get another microsecond or something of the video that wasn't as part of what was sent. And that's all that was being asked.
That could well be. Mr. Frederick strikes me as a meticulous man.
He is, and that's what he asked for, and that's why we were trying to see if we could get the phone, which Ms. McDowell provided, in order to see if there might be a microsecond on there.
Okay, well, there's enough ambiguity about all this that I can't say that it's irrelevant. It may be nothing, but I'm in no position to assess it. So we'll take our break now.
Just one other thing commented to that. I retrieved Exhibit 859 from Ms. McDowell. It seems to be missing a page. So I don't know if the court, because I know the court reviewed a couple.
I had a couple, but
Missing page 2 and 3.
I think I had 5 and 6 from one of those exhibits. It could be whatever they're up there, they're loose, so it could have got shuffled.
I'll look for it, but
Okay.
it's currently not in the packet.
All right, well, let's try to correct that before we resume. Anyway, we'll take our break, let the jury know that, and then we'll hopefully get back in 15 minutes going again. Thank you. Mr. Esser, you can continue when you're ready.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. McDowell, I think when we left off, I asked you about the consent to search the cell phone that was used to record March 3rd, 2020. Do you remember me asking you that question?
Yes.
All right, and so once you had provided, well, let me ask you this first. Did you actually provide the video to anyone other than Mr. Bible?
I sent it to Monet.
Okay. Did you ever send it to the Attorney General's office?
Not that I recalled, no.
To law enforcement?
No.
All right, so any of the video coming from your device is coming through the Ellis family or their attorney?
Right.
Okay. And as we were talking before we took the break, that device was made inoperable either the day that you showed it to Mr. Bible or the next day, right?
Right.
And then at some point in that same time frame, 10 incorrect passwords were put into the phone, disabling it further, right?
I guess so.
And so there's no way to view anything on your phone relative to any communications you had with anybody other than on March 3rd because you gave consent to search for that single day, right?
Not that I recall. I gave consent to, or I gave them my phone to look at for however long they wanted to. I don't know.
Okay, but after it had been disabled?
I didn't know it was disabled until today.
Well, you just told us it was disabled either the day or the next day that you showed the video to Mr. Bible.
No, I didn't.
Overruled, you may answer.
Isn't that what you told us earlier?
No, I said it was broken. I didn't know it was disabled. I didn't know passwords were entered in to make it to where it didn't work anymore.
Okay. There was communication between you and Mr. Bible in which Mr. Bible requested access to the phone. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Okay. May I approach, Judge? I'm going to hand you Defense 2536. That's a screenshot of your cell phone, correct? Of communication between you and Mr. Bible. Do you recognize that?
No, not really. I mean, hold on.
Well, on the top of the page, it has SM for Sara McDowell, right?
Right. Doesn't show my number, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was. I don't.
Look at the messages and see if you recall those exchanges between you and Mr. Bible.
Emailed. Okay, yeah.
Counsel, sorry, do you have a copy of what you've shown the witness?
I don't have another copy with me, but I think 2536. I'm sure we have one at the council table.
Okay, what was your answer again? What was your answer again?
Yeah, I recall.
That's text communication between you and Mr. Bible, right?
Right.
All right. May I approach again, Judge?
Yes?
In the text messages from Mr. Bible to you, he's indicating that the Attorney General's office thinks that there's a few more seconds of video related to this incident that's not provided, right?
That's what he says.
And then after that, your phone was provided, right?
Yes, I gave my phone, yeah.
But it was not operable, right?
Yeah, it was broken at the time, yep.
After meeting with Mr. Bible on June 4th of 2020, you got heavily invested in this case, right?
Yes.
And by invested, I mean you began to interact with the Ellis family regularly, right?
Not exactly regularly. I had some contact when there was events.
Okay. You, well, let's break it down. Yesterday, Mr. Pertzer asked you about an exchange you had with a lady named Bridget.
Right.
Who's Bridget?
I'm not exactly sure who she is.
Okay. Well, you knew that Bridget was associated with the individual who posted bail for the police officers when they were charged, right?
Josh Harris. Right.
I'm sorry?
Josh Harris, I believe.
Josh Harris is the individual who posted bail. Is that your
I believe
understanding?
so. It was him or his brother, or that's what I remember from it.
Okay. And so you took it upon yourself to reach out to Bridget on your own, right?
Right.
Why'd you do that?
This whole thing has made me so emotional, and I was hurt and I was upset of the whole thing that had happened, and I was hurt and angry about the people that were saying things or twisting up what just changing and like saying that I was lying or saying that what I had seen didn't happen. I was just hurt, so I commented back to quite a few people that were against me and against what I had seen.
We're going to get there, okay? I want to talk about Bridget, though. Bridget didn't comment against you, did she?
No, there was a post that was shared about her referring to whoever, I can't remember anymore. I believe it was the police officers, that they were peacemakers, or maybe it was Josh. I can't remember. Back then I knew what it was meaning. And so I was frustrated. I felt relief when I had seen them be arrested, and then once they got bailed out, it was just, I was hurt.
And so you decided that you'd reach out to Bridget on Facebook, right?
Yes.
She didn't reach out to you, did she?
No, she didn't reach out to me, no.
Right. And you told her who you were. I'm Sara McDowell, right?
Yes.
And you told her that she was part of the problem and that you were going to go talk to her employer and tell her employer what horrible things she did, right?
I don't recall what our messages were about.
Okay. Well, let's show you. I'm going to hand you 2677, 2678, 2679, 2680, and 2681. Go ahead and review those. Once you've had a chance to review them, go ahead and look up at me, okay? Need my binder. Have you had a chance to review exhibits 2677 through 2681?
Yes.
All right, and each of those is an individual screenshot of the communication between you and this Bridget lady referencing what we've just discussed, right?
Right.
And in those messages, you initially contact her on your own Facebook page, right?
Yes.
And you can see a picture of your profile on that page, right?
Yes.
And you identify yourself as Sara McDowell, right?
Yes. Sarah,
And,
yes.
and in the communications, you discuss how horrible it was for her to be part of the people that bailed these officers out, right?
Yes.
And that you were going to contact her employer, right?
Yes.
And you were going to tell all the kids at the school what a horrible thing she'd done, right?
Sorry, I don't recall that part.
It's before we get to Jesse's. We'll get to Jesse's in a second.
All kids at Stadium.
Right, she worked at Stadium High School, right?
Yeah, I didn't say I was going to tell them, though,
What'd you say?
that all kids need to know.
What a terrible thing she did.
Right.
Okay. And then she blocked you, didn't she?
Yes.
And even after she blocked you, you then went to Jesse's Facebook page, right?
Right.
Jesse Salgado,
Yes.
the same Jesse that we hear you talking about in the first video that's been admitted, Plaintiff's 20, right?
Yes, my fiance.
Yep. And then you contact her again using Jesse's Facebook page, right?
Yes.
And you say it's Sara McDowell.
Yes.
And then you say blue lives is not a thing, right?
Right.
Blue lives will never be a thing, right?
Right.
Black lives will always be a thing.
Right.
You're not anything more than a security guard.
Right.
And that's, Mr. Pertzer admitted the exhibit yesterday, where you say none of the people will ever have anything on my story, right?
Right.
Wait till I'm in the stands, I'm lying to shut all you down, right?
Right.
Those are your words.
Right. Typo, though. Just, yeah.
Sure, typo. Bridget's not the only person you confronted.
No, I confronted a lot of people.
You did, right? You actively went out onto social media platforms around the country and confronted people who had any opinion about whether this was a lawful contact by the police, right?
Yes.
In fact, you contacted the Daily Mail. You
I don't know
recognize that?
who I contacted. I just know I was on social media and I replied to posts that were posted.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. Including, you went on a 48 hours platform. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember who I went to.
Let's make sure we're all on the same page. May I approach, Judge? Thank you. I'll trade you exhibits. I'm going to hand you 2716, 2717, 2718, 2719, 2720, 2721, 2722, 2723, and 2724, and I'll trade you. Go ahead and take a look at those, and you'll see on each of those exhibits there's an icon in the upper left-hand corner indicating what platform that those chats are related to. Do you see those?
Yep.
All right. Go ahead and review just the platforms at this point. So one of the platforms you contacted was related to 48 Hours, the show, right? What exhibit number is that, please?
2720.
2720. And that's you commenting on the substance of this case with whoever has an opinion about it, right?
Right.
In fact, on page 1 of Exhibit 2720, you respond to J. Lee Scarborough indicating he didn't do anything, he wasn't acting high, they are liars, hashtag justice for Manny, right?
Right.
How do you know Manny Ellis wasn't high?
That's just was my opinion.
What'd you base that opinion on?
Because he wasn't acting out. He didn't do anything in the first place from what I had seen.
You realize he had 2,400 nanograms of methamphetamine in his system.
I don't, what I had seen wasn't a man being high.
And on page 2 of that same exhibit, you respond to Pamela Cockrell Valor, and you said he was not acting high, they lied. It is going to be spoken on. His story will continue to spread and will be shared whether you like it or not. Hashtag justice for Manny, period, exclamation point, right?
Right.
None of those people reached out to you, you reached out to them, right?
Yes, I commented on him.
Okay. All right. The Daily Mail, it's Exhibit 2716. You have that exhibit in front of you.
Yes.
Right. And there's several pages, 2, 3, 4, I think 6 pages on that exhibit. Sorry, 5 pages. Is that right?
Yes.
I want you to turn to page 3 of Exhibit 2716. And in the first entry, and let's be clear, your name on these entries is Sarah Christine, right?
Yes.
That's you, though?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to read the first sentence of that. I'm going to read the second sentence and the rest of that passage, okay?
Okay.
You wrote, "No, I didn't hear what words were exchanged. The officers were in the car, and Manny continued walking like he was, and the passenger jumped out. He, from the start, never resisted, never caught back, never said anything wrong while he was being beat," right?
Right.
The passenger, you're talking about the passenger being the passenger of the patrol vehicle?
Yeah.
So your comment on January 2nd of 2021, that's when this was posted, was that the passenger just jumped out and attacked him?
Say that again?
In that post, you indicate the passenger jumped out from the start. He never you wrote caught back, but I assume you mean fought back, right?
Right.
So you're saying the passenger jumped out and attacked him?
I said the passenger jumped out. That was that. And then it wasn't the storyline of what happened. I was just saying that the passenger jumped out from the start, never resisted, never fought back, never said anything wrong while he was being beat. Didn't say anything about who did what, when.
Okay. Go to the next page. You respond to Alan Kaiser. You wrote, "I was, period. From the beginning when the officers pulled up to a red light, Manny was walking, doing nothing. They stopped him and jumped out and started beating him. Remember, they said they were standing with him first, talking, ? That was a lie. One officer at a time jumped out. The passenger was the first to start beating him. Tacoma Police Department, they know what they did. Ed Troyer knows he lied on me. He wasn't banging on cars. He wasn't trying to get in no vehicles. He wasn't fighting back during or after getting beat. TPD is literally a failure to all of us. TPD is filled with murderers who try to cover them up. Not anymore. Finger crossed emoji. I got you all." And then there's more comment, right?
Right.
So in this passage, on the same day, like you said in your first interview with Mr. Bible, like you said to Detective Rue, like you said to us, the passenger jumped out and started beating him first, right?
Right. That's what, yeah. I said the passenger was the first to start beating him.
And then on
Which I could have, what the driver officer, he slammed him. the passenger was the one beating him, like punching him.
Understood.
I don't.
On the last page, you respond to Henry Ford. You say, watch all the videos released. I was behind the police car while Manny was walking. One officer jumped out of the car and tackled Manny and started punching him repeatedly in the face. The being teased, I think you meant tased, and held to the ground. His hands were being forced in the cement while being threatened. They were going to tease him again if he didn't put them behind his back. Watch all the videos. You'll find where his hands were pinned. You hear him asking for help. Know your facts before speaking. This is straight murder trying to be covered up so bad. In any way possible, TPD can. Hashtag TPD are murderers. Hashtag TPD are liars. Lurs, I guess. Hashtag justice for Manuel Ellis, right?
Right.
You wrote all that.
Right.
Again, consistent with the first 3 statements you made before testifying yesterday.
Right.
Go to Exhibit 2717. .2717 is a Fox 13 Seattle platform. Do you see that in the upper left-hand corner?
Yes.
And again, there's an entry by you, Sarah Christine, right at the top, right?
Right.
And that you said, all I'm saying is I was there before the 2 officers got out their vehicle. I was there right behind the cop car. I seen Manny walking normal. They stopped him out of nowhere. One officer knocked him to the ground and started punching him in the face over 5 times. The driver got out and ran around and started helping. Manny wasn't fighting back. That's why I was screaming at them. Manny was calling for help. He didn't know what was happening. They were beating him for nothing. They didn't even try arresting him when I said to. He had his hands on the ground and all. They are sick, sick murderers, and they are gonna get what's coming. They will not get away with taking Manny Ellis's life. That's a promise. That was your message, right?
Right.
Again, on October 24th of 2020, right?
Yes.
You,
Or I don't know when the post was commented. This says 1 year ago, but that, yeah, I don't know.
well, the exhibit has October 24th, 2020 on the caption, right?
Right. But I don't know when I commented on.
Fair enough.
Right.
And again, your version is consistent with all what you've said every time except for yesterday.
Right.
And today, right? Okay. Go to 2718. .2718 is a platform for Fox 6 News out of Milwaukee, right?
Right.
And again, you're responding to several messages about your involvement in this case, right?
Yes.
All right, go to Exhibit 2719. .2719 is the well, I know it to be the Tacoma News Tribune, but it says the News Tribune, right?
Right.
And that's the Tacoma News Tribune,
Yeah.
dated
Yes.
June 4th of 2020, right?
Right.
That's the same day you met with Mr. Bible.
Right. But I don't know if that was the day of that I commented on.
Fair enough. You said, to response to David Shatley, he was not high on drugs. He was not resisting. They lied. They have switched the story numerous times. Open your eyes. Hashtag justice for Manny, period, exclamation point, right?
Right.
Where'd you get the information that there was a suggestion that he was high on drugs.
The person above says something to do with that.
And you have no idea if, at that point in time, whether Mr. Ellis was on drugs?
No, from what I had seen, he didn't look like he was on drugs to me.
Okay. Exhibit 2721. (2721) is a platform for Blue Lives Matter, right?
Yes.
And the date, at least on the string, is May 27th of 2021, right?
Right.
Maybe not the day you
Right.
put an entry, right? And again, you're responding to a host of folks on there talking about how these cops were murderers, right?
Right.
All right, go to 2722. 2722 is a platform for My Northwest. Do you see that?
Yes.
And that, at least the posting began February 3rd of 2021, right?
Right.
Maybe not when you responded, but that's the date on the string, right?
Right.
You responded to Walrus Whitman, and you said, "Watch them then?" Question mark. TPD murdered Manuel Ellis. Period. The videos are everywhere. Before the first video that is posted ever, the passenger officer gets out and knocks Ellis down with his door and starts punching him in the face. Then from there you can see what they did. Mind you, he was only walking. They made up everything they said about him. Everything in all capital letters, right?
Right.
Go to 2723. Doesn't actually have a platform symbol at the upper left-hand corner, does it?
No.
Where did this come from?
That's a post that I believe I made.
Right, you posted this on your own, right?
Yes.
In fact, your post is you want everybody to protest against Dickey's Barbecue because Josh Harris is related to that and he helped post bail for the officers, right?
Right.
And then on the second page, you attach a post from Melissa Knott with the address of Dickey's Barbecue, a picture of Dickey's Barbecue, prompting folks to
I shared a post that was
to boycott that location, right?
Made. Right.
Exhibit 2724. And that's, again, something that you posted directly, isn't it?
I shared a post and just said, "Got your back down here, sweet angel."
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I shared a post that was made
Okay.
and just made a comment about it.
Right. Your comment was, "Got your back down here, sweet angel."
Right.
Fist in a heart, right?
Right.
And the post you're sharing is actually Mr. Bible's post, right?
Yes.
And the date that you're sharing that is June 8th, June 8th, 2020, a couple days after you met with him, right?
Right.
And on the second page of that same exhibit, you share Tacoma Action Collection's post, right?
Right.
And you're urging people to call, share, where the post is asking that these officers be fired, arrested, and charged with murder, right?
Yes.
And on the third page, you appear to share your own post, right?
Yes.
Where you start naming the officers that you want charged for this incident, right?
Right.
You write fire and charge Matthew Collins, Christopher Burbank, Masai Ford, and Timothy Rankin.
Yes.
How'd you know their names on June 12th of 2020?
They were posted. It's from what I read.
And then on the next page of that same exhibit, you are sharing a Tacoma police officer, or sorry, Tacoma Police Department post about body cams being approved finally, right?
Yep.
And in response, you use a bunch of profanity about the Tacoma Police Department. Don't you say fuck all the police officers involved?
Yes.
And then you go on to say other negative things towards them, right?
Right.
And on the last page of that exhibit, from April 20th of 2021,
Oh, wait. Where are we at?
sorry, 27, 24?
Oh, like,
Yeah, last page of it.
oh,
Yeah, that's the last page.
okay.
Yeah. Again, this is on April 20th of 2021, right? You post next to charge guilty for murdering Manuel Ellis, and you list Matthew Collins, Christopher Burbank, Masai Ford, Timothy Rankin, Armando Farinas, Pierce County Sheriff Detective Gary Sanders, right?
Right.
How'd you get all those names?
From what was posted.
If I understand the timeline, the information you had on March 3rd, 2020, you didn't share with anybody outside Keon and maybe your sister, I think, Sadie? Is that
Right.
And Zenas, the other folks that you lived with.
Right. My mom. Yeah.
Didn't share that with anybody until after you met with James Bible on June 4th of 2020, right?
Right.
Didn't post it on social media.
No.
Didn't say that Mr. Ellis was walking down the street and was attacked randomly, right? Made no effort to make it known, right?
No, I didn't.
Didn't call 911
Nope.
until you spoke to Mr. Bible.
No. Until I seen a post finding out that he had died.
And after that, you began to go on marches and protests with the Ellis family, right?
Yes.
All right. Last set of questions. You took, it sounds like 2 videos.
Yes.
All right. The second video is plaintiff's exhibit number 21. That's when you're begin to drive past the patrol vehicle, okay? Do you remember that?
Yes.
All right. Can we get 21 up, please? Can you put it at the beginning so I can just have Ms. McDowell verify that's accurate? Okay. Can you see that on your monitor right here?
Yes.
Okay. And so on the screen it says Exhibit 21. It's been admitted, okay?
Okay.
And this is a 14-second clip, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. And this is from the perspective of you inside the vehicle about to drive around. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And have you seen this before?
Yes.
How many times have you seen this?
Hundreds of times.
Okay. So you know what we're going to hear on here, right?
Yes.
All right. I want you to listen. Go ahead and hit play.
Behind your back. You're gonna do it again. Put your hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Put your hands behind.
All right. So we heard at 7 seconds in there, Officer Collins say, put your hand behind your back, right?
Yes.
And
I don't know who it was.
And at 9 seconds, again, put your hands behind your back, right?
Right.
And then you gave a little courtesy honk there, didn't you?
I don't know if that was me. I don't know who that was.
Okay, but you
Don't
heard
recall.
you heard the little beep, right? Okay.
I think that was behind me.
Okay. And then 12 seconds into the clip, Officer Collins again says, put your hands behind your back.
I also hear him say help at some point.
I'm gonna object it.
There's no, witness said she doesn't know who's making the statement, so counsel's
Right.
saying it's somebody, but she doesn't know.
Fair enough.
I'll rephrase, Judge.
Go ahead.
At 12 seconds in, you hear one of the officers saying, "Put your hands behind your back" again.
Right.
For the third time, right?
Right.
And then at 14 seconds in, you hear one of the officers, again to Mr. Ellis, say, "Put your hands behind your back," right?
Yes. Or I hear it a few times, but I also hear Manuel Ellis saying help at some point. So he probably couldn't do it. He probably couldn't put his hands behind his back from them being on him.
You heard in that video Mr. Ellis ask for help?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Judge. That's all I have.
Mr. Conrad?
Good morning.
Really briefly, when you arrived on the scene, there was only one patrol car, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you only saw 2 officers on scene.
Yes.
So the full altercation that you're talking about involved 1 patrol car and 2 officers?
Yes.
Okay. You never saw any other patrol cars arrive on scene?
No.
Or any other officers?
Not the first time I was there, no.
Okay. When you came back, then there was a number of patrol cars and officers on
Right.
scene? Okay. But during the initial altercation that you saw, 1 patrol car, 2 officers?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Can I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, redirect.
I want to just ask you a few follow-up questions, Sarah. First of all, can you tell the jury everything that you've described that you saw, was that also on the video?
Most of it, yes.
And what part wasn't on the video?
The officers, passenger officer knocking Manuel down with the door. Manuel and the officers having any talk. The driver officer getting out of the vehicle. When the lights went on, all of that.
Let me just ask you a few follow-up questions regarding some issues that the defense raised. Do you remember being asked questions about whether, at what point you said that the yellow lights came on the patrol vehicle?
Yes.
Do you recall being shown an exhibit with respect to that? A statement that you made?
Yes.
All right. Can you take a look? May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 860. Can you recall defense counsel asking you some questions from page 16 about when the lights came on the car?
Yes.
Whether it was before or after you saw Mr. Ellis get knocked to the ground?
Yes.
All right, if you could take a look at page 20. Can you recall it being suggested that you had said something different in this interview about when the lights came on? Do you recall that?
Yes.
If you could take a look at bottom of page 19 and the top of page 20. Can you just read out loud what you said about when the amber lights came on, please?
Okay. Manuel gets knocked to the ground, and then the passenger officer gets out the car like he didn't grab him yet. He got on top of him and was just punching him over and over. I think it was either at that point that I got out the car or the driver officer ended up getting out of the car too. And he flicked on his yellow lights, then he got out the car and ran around.
And was that what you said during the defense interview?
That the lights came on before the officer got out?
Yes, before the driver officer
Yes.
got out. And you also recall yesterday being asked questions by Officer Collins's counsel about that you had said something different in the defense interview about what direction Mr. Ellis was walking, meaning
Yes.
toward your car or away from your car. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. And you recall being asked to look at page, I believe it's page 19, if you can take a look at that same transcript. Page 18. Remember being asked to read lines 2 through 5?
Yes. Or, yeah.
You could take a look at page 16 of that statement,
Oh,
of that interview. Just take a look at page 16.
okay.
You remember being asked this question. Where did you see him before you saw him have his interaction with and then what's your answer at line 24?
He was just walking down past the intersection towards our cards, like towards on the sidewalk.
And was that immediately before the questions and answers you were asked by defense counsel in terms of which direction he was walking?
That's what I said, yes.
And if you could take a look at line 5, you recall being asked this question. When you say your direction, he was walking toward the direction of the police vehicle? And what's your answer at line 7?
Sorry,
This is on page 17, the next page,
okay,
at line 7.
I said, I guess, yeah, I mean, he was, so when I seen him, like, I don't really exactly remember where he was. I remember seeing him walking this way. The intersection was right here, and I seen him walking.
And then on page 18, were you also asked again about, make some statements about the direction that Mr. Ellis was walking?
Yes.
All right, and you recall being asked at line 4, and then what drew your attention to him specifically? And at line 5, what's your answer?
When he was walking, then I seen him walking towards the officer's car.
So in the interview you had with defense counsel, did you tell him that Mr. Ellis was walking towards the police car or towards your direction of car?
Yes.
All right. You were asked questions about which sequence happened first, whether or not you saw the passenger officer first punch, or whether or not you saw the driver officer get out and lift up Mr. Ellis and slam him to the ground. You recall that?
Yes.
Is that, to your memory, things that are depicted on the video?
Sorry,
Is
like,
it shown on the video?
yes, some of it, yeah.
I would ask to play Exhibit 20, or the witness be shown Exhibit 20.